beats Pelosi. Off the wall to Harris. Harris has got Pelosi. Harris to Pelosi. Shot. He scores! Chris Pelosi!
And Patra trying to drive in on that right wing side. Patra in. Scores! Matt Patra in overtime.
Willis took it right off his stick. Sends one through. They score! First career goal for the Bruins draft pick, Donald Millis. Back to the blue line. Cowan has it, looking for the return feed. Cowan lets it go back to the point. Shot!
Those were without all of their World Junior guys for that against Simon Fraser. BC played him Sunday. Good pass ahead. There's Yelvik. He scores! Didn't need an exhibition.
Will come up with it. Ross Schwab flips it out to center. Now McKinney gets chased with Harrison. Harrison to the backhand. Score! A deft touch.
Watch out. Nelson steals. Walks in. Scores! 6-2. Jackson Nelson has the hat trick.
In a Crosby line. Zula wins that battle. Now he's going to waltz
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the Dom.Hockey podcast. I am joined by the one and only Dom Tiano, and I am your host, Chris Nozick. Dom, I know we just did the show last night, but how was your Monday, and are you excited to finally get back into these Bruins prospects?
Yeah, I am. But first of all, I've got to apologize to your girlfriend because over the past week, you've been spending more time with me than you have with her. And we'll tell everybody who's in on the chat right off the bat, we have another episode coming up Thursday.
Which is Thanksgiving.
Right. Which is also following the Bruins' next two games. And joining us will be Craig Eagle once again. And everybody wanted Craig back on, so he's joining us again Thursday.
And that's going to be a good episode. We got Kevin jumping in. Hopefully he's having a good burrito meal tonight, as he tends to do while joining in the chat.
I wonder if he'll have turkey burritos on Thursday.
I don't know. Kevin, just let us know. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Oh, man. Well, as I mentioned, it's been a couple weeks. We had Craig on, and then the firing of Monty kind of took over and commandeered last show. This week, we actually get back into the prospects. We've had a handful of games. How do you want to go? How do you want to attack them? Do you want to go prospects based on the player? Do you want to go based off of order?
Based on the player, because there's some good, there's some bad, and there's some ugly.
Yeah.
That, went on last week.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Greg jumping in. Hey, guys, love your show. Usually listen after the live event airs. I'm able to join for the first 30 minutes. Well, welcome, Greg. Appreciate you watching the playback when you do. And Tyler's jumping in. Kevin says Mexican food is so far down my list. Why burritos? I don't know, Kevin. That just seems to be your go-to sometimes. Plus, it's easier that way. Just makes it more fun. So, do we want to start overseas? Jump up to the OHL? How do you want to go about it?
Let's start with Casper Nason.
Okay,
because he had such a hot start to the season. Miami played Friday and Saturday. Both games against Omaha. So they lost Friday. 3-1, I believe, was the final score, and then got blown out on Saturday night, 8-1. That means Miami's now got just one win in their last 11 games.
Oof.
And Nason himself is now pointless in 8 after a really hot start to the season. Here's the catch. Miami has not won a single game that Nason has not registered a point. So I don't know what's going on. The team is they're in a bad streak. The only good thing for them is that they're off this week. They don't play until next week. And maybe they can get their shit together. But it's just been, you can just only call it a shit show. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it looks good on him that they win when he scores, but I don't know what else to say there.
Yeah, it's just been bad. And it's not that he hasn't been playing well. He himself has been playing well. The production just isn't there. I mean, I think he had like 5 points in his first 5 games, and now he's got 6 and 16. So it's been really bad for him and for the team.
Yeah, and he's kind of cooled down a little bit because, as you mentioned, he hasn't been scoring. I think on the year now, he's not that we love the plus minus stat, but minus 11. That's not very good.
No, it's not.
How much of it do you think is the whole overall team that he's just putting on his back? Like,
I wouldn't say, he's playing on the top line. I wouldn't say he was putting them on his back early in the season. It's just everything was clicking. But it's just been absolutely terrible for 8 games now. And like I said, they get a break this week. Hopefully they can get some decent practice time in, some good workout time, and get back at it after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I mean, some teams will be looking forward to the break, and I mean, it's also freshman year for him, so we'll have to continue to see if he can bounce back from it. What does year 2 look like? I mean, again, 2023 7th round draft pick. Like, could we have seen his ceiling already? It's possible, but like you said, there's been good, bad, ugly. Would you file this under bad or ugly?
It's ugly. It's ugly.
Fair
it's ugly.
Point.
Very
do we want to
ugly.
jump to a good, or do we want to only level up one?
Let's go to the good and Don's Lachmelis, because yesterday, I'm sure it was maybe it was Saturday. No, it was yesterday because they played yesterday. So you messaged me and you said, did you see that Lachmelis goal? And it would have been a beauty, but they didn't credit it to him. But Don's is hot. He's got like 2 goals, 3 assists in his last 2 games. He's up to 14 points in 14 games on the season. He's got 2 goals, 3 assists in the last 3 games. So he's at a point per game on the season. I believe he's 3rd in scoring with UMass now on the team. Here's the thing with Lachmelis, and I don't know if it's good or bad. He's shooting at 13%. His shot percentage is 13%. But he doesn't have the shots, the quantity of shots that his teammates are taking. So, like I said, he's only got 3 goals, but he's got 11 helpers. So I think he's deferring too much. You've seen him. He's got a good shot.
Given the fact, though, that he has 14 points in 14 games, 11 of them, as you said, are assists. The guys that are above him in scoring, 16 points in 14 games, Adir Sunayev, Calgary draft pick, and Cole O'Hara, a Nashville draft pick, 20 points in 14 games. He's got 9 goals for Sonyev. So maybe he's deferring a little too much, but I mean, you can't really complain about the result. He's getting goals, like you said, at a 13% clip. I'd like him to shoot the puck a little bit more, but if he's getting the assists, he's clearly finding the right guy.
Yeah.
Can you really say he's making the wrong decision? I don't think so.
No. I mean, when the production's there, you really can't complain. But could he be a little bit more selfish? I don't know. You've got to watch every minute of every game to say, okay, he was selfish here where he should have taken or he was selfish here when he should have made the pass, or vice versa.
Yeah, and it's always going to be a hindsight thing too, where it's like, oh well, this shot didn't go in. He was wide open. He should have made the pass. Well,
yeah.
Did he even see the pass too? Jason has a good point here where it says he seems like a guy that shows up in big games.
Yeah,
that's what I have noticed about him. Not just big games, but big moments. We talked about that game-winning goal that he got in on. Honestly, I'm not sure that goes in if it's only one of those two players. I forget who actually got credit for the goal, but if they're not both there in the crease fighting for that puck, I don't think it goes in. I think it's just a matter of them both having the awareness to be there, fight for it, see that it's there and loose, and essentially poke check it into the goal.
And he will get there. He's not afraid of getting there. I love how well he does in international competition. I'm looking forward. I think he will be part of the Latvian team for the World Championships in May. And there's a possibility that he could turn pro at the end of this season.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's a slim chance, but if he continues at the pace he's on, I think he could turn pro at the end of the season.
That was literally what my next question was going to be about, because let's face it, we know this Bruins team is low on centers. They're going to have a crop of guys who are not going to come back. And this is someone that, again, a trade of Matthew Poitras for the NHL roster is a totally different conversation. But
yeah,
Locke Mellis is someone that if they can get him in Providence and get him to a point where he's only a couple years away, moving on from Matthew Poitras could get you a piece that can help you in the now while you have a couple other guys still under contract with Locke Mellis on the way up. But again, it's we got to see how he does if he goes to Latvia to play for Latvia. There's a lot of season left, but those thoughts I'm sure are all out there in their minds. So I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah. We can look at the Boston College guys together: Oscar Yelvik, Andre Gasso, and Dean Letourneau. Letourneau's the one everybody wants to know about. 10 games, 0 goals, 2 assists. He's missing some beautiful opportunities to put the puck in the net and score his first NCAA goal. I'm not going to dwell too much on it. I'm not worried about it. I still feel very strongly that he should have spent a year in the USHL or a year in the OHL before making the jump. I think it would have benefited him. But if you listen to his coach talk, he does everything that is asked of him and more in practice. He's only averaging like 9-10 minutes a game during games. He's big. He stands out. Like, you can tell it's him without even looking for the number. He's that big.
Oh, yeah.
He can be physical. He did get knocked off the puck rather easily at times. He's got a lot of maturing to do physically. But like I said, I think he would have been better served a year in the USHL or OHL. But That's just my opinion.
Yeah, Kevin says once he scores, the floodgates will open. I honestly, Kevin, normally I would agree with you on that, but for someone like Letourneau, I'm not so sure. And this is something that Don and I know we were talking about, because everybody's had him so highly ranked in the prospect system. So many people have said he's their number one prospect, and we've been sitting here going, can we let the guy play a game in the NCAA first? And to your point, he didn't play in the USHL. He's not played in any sort of, OHL league or anything like that. So, like, I think that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing the growing pains of a guy who's playing. It's tough to say for a guy who's what, 6'7". He's
Yeah.
6'7", 215. He's punching above his weight. He's like, not physically. He's a man among boys physically, but hockey-wise, hockey IQ-wise, hockey growth-wise, maturity for the game of hockey, he's punching above his weight.
Yeah,
As long
and
as
the signs are there, Chris. You can see that the talent is there. It's just right now it's a maturity factor with him.
And he just has to stick with it up here in the head.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't get too far down on himself, because he has to realize that I don't want to say he did this to himself, but by not going another route. I mean, he did get technically 2 games in the USHL, but we're not counting those. It doesn't really matter. He could have stayed for the year, then made the jump to the NCAA. He would have much more success his first year. He's only 18. As long as he doesn't get too hard on himself and get in his own head and really take his game back mentally, he'll be fine. Like you said, we're seeing the signs of it.
Yeah,
I don't think so either. No, and I think the coaching staff there won't allow that to happen, because also at the end of the day, they can go, hey, look, you're going to Boston College. You're fine.
Yeah.
Real quick, Mike asks, how do you think about Jelvik's time at center? Do you think it's helping, hurting, indifferent?
Well, let's go to him next then, because he's the next one out of Boston College. I think we talked about it the other day. To me, Oscar Jelvik is not a centerman. He's just did not look good as far as I was concerned playing center. He's back on the wing. Still don't think he's 100% coming back from his injury, but at least now he's putting on points. In the last couple of games, he played with the guy we'll talk about next, Andre Gassot, on the opposite wing, where they played a lot together last season. It's nice to see that these two are forming some chemistry. They've had a whole season together, hopefully another whole season together. Jelvik, I think, will turn pro at the end of this season. I'm pretty confident in saying that. I'm 70-30 on Gassot turning pro. If these two could hit Providence together and keep forming that chemistry, great thing. But Jelvik, his production isn't where it should be at this point. A, because of the injury, missing some time. But B, more importantly, is I just didn't think he fit in well at center. I think he's a much better player on the wing.
Yeah, and I don't think either one are going to hinder his chances in the pros. I really don't. I think he is better off on the wing, and so you might as well play where your strengths are. And let's keep him there. Let's let him get on a groove, and who knows, maybe down the road we know how Boston likes the versatile guys. It's not like he's never going to play the center ever again, but at the same time, Pasta doesn't play the center position either, and he does just fine for himself at the NHL level. So he doesn't have to play both. Yeah. So curious.
Not to say that he's David Pastrnak, because he's not.
No. It'll be interesting to see which Bruins Monty might try to bring with him, including prospects on the back burner. We'll talk about that one a little bit down the road here. Are there any that jump out just as a thought any in the system that you look at and go, that's a guy Monty may want in St. Louis with him?
No, he doesn't know the prospects that well. He relies on Ryan Mougenel to tell him what the prospects were like. It's not like Monty was down in Providence watching these guys.
No, I agree. I just didn't know if there were any the style of game that you thought might jump out, but I can't think of any. Again, maybe a guy like Trent Frederick, but he's not a prospect, so that's more or less where he's going to be looking. Good hands, good skating. Hopefully, he can put it all together. I think Jason's comment there is about Letourneau. Curious adds on. I saw Dean in one game just happened to get his first assist, and he won the face-off. Last I checked, he had a few assists and no goals, but he'll figure it out. Yeah, I think he's got 2 assists on the season, right?
Yeah, and he's not very good on face-offs.
Again, something that he can get better at.
Yeah.
And then Kevin adds in, from what I've seen, I'm guessing he's talking about Letourneau. The chances are there. He's doing good things. He's just not finishing those chances, which is something that comes over time. Like we said, the flashes are there. But yeah, I mean, BC's going to have good competition all the way across the board. I think that's going to benefit a kid like Dean Letourneau as well. So again, I'm not overly concerned about any of them, because the ones that aren't off to at least of these 3, an extremely quick start, kind of expecting it, especially with Jelvik and the injury. So
yeah,
nothing.
And Letourneau's going to learn from some very good players in BC. He'll learn. It's a great learning experience, but we talked at the beginning of the season. I'm not expecting a whole lot of production out of him. I wasn't.
No, and think of it right now. He's behind James Higgins, Ryan Leonard. Like he's watching good players ahead of him too. So
yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Who do you want to move on to now?
To the third guy out of BC, Andre Gassot.
Okay, yeah.
Here he is, averaging half a goal a game, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points in 12 games. Been on a tear lately. Here's the thing. His shot percentage is 30%. 30. Here's a guy who can shoot. He'll go to the dirty areas. He'll score any which way you want him to. Except if you look at the shooters on BC, he's not one of the big shooters. He's another guy. And playing with Jelvik will help him because Jelvik is a playmaker. Gassot needs to put pucks on the net. When you're shooting 30%, you're going to be a goal-a-game player in this league. And that's my issue, my one issue. I know if you go back a year ago, I talked about his skating. I said it was slightly improved. He's getting there. But that might be what keeps him from the NHL. He's put in the work this offseason again. His skating is much improved over 2 years ago. Could he get better? Yeah, if he keeps working at it. And I think he will.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, too, that the advantage of being in college is they have the practice schedule that he can put that effort in. And, even once he gets to the pros, if he does turn pro and go to Providence, more practice time, more time on the ice, more ability to get the edge work in and, do those drills, he just has to want to do it. And so far, none of these guys have indicated that they're just going to get all lazy out of nowhere. So, I don't see that being an issue for anybody that we've mentioned so far as the trying factor, the desire.
Yeah.
Do we want to go back to an ugly? Or do we want to stick with the good? Are we liking the positivity?
No, let's go to a confusing one. And Jake
Okay.
Schmaltz. Because
Okay.
he's the guy who's in a graduate year. And now it's a question of, does he earn a contract or does he not? Is he going to be another Curtis Hall or, one of those types of players? Jake Schmaltz, when the Bruins drafted him out of the USHL, was a point producer. Actually did very, very well. His first year in college, he was a point producer, did very, very well. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but
I do. You want me to go over?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
This is just according to Elite Prospects, but his last year in the USHL, he put up 53 points in 51 games. First game at University of North Dakota, 24 points in 39 games. It was that sophomore slump, 12 points in 34 games and 11 points in 36 games. But, as you mentioned, confusing. He's already got 7 points in 13 games this year.
Yeah, so he's
One
gone
goal.
down, and he's gone. Yeah, last year he didn't score he scored his only goal. I think with 2 games left in the season. Here it is. He's an excellent face-off guy. He's an excellent defensive player. I just don't know about the offense. I just cannot see him putting up more than a handful of points at the NHL level, based on how he regressed over his time in college. Face-offs, man, I think Friday night he was 20 for 30 on the dot or something like that. Yeah, he was something like 20 for 28, 29, 30, if I remember correctly. And he led everybody with 5 shots on net. And he was centering the third line. Okay. Here's the thing. Most games he's on the fourth line. He's being used as a shutdown guy. When he got moved up to the third line, he put up some points. So I'm just having a hard time trying to figure out what he is. Because last year he was almost exclusively a fourth liner at the NCAA level. If I was to bet, I think the Bruins walk away from him at the end of the season. I don't think he gets a contract off.
No, because I think they already have that guy in Johnny Beecher. And better. I think Beecher's a little bit better skater, faster skater. He also has the versatility to kick over. He's currently on the wing, can play the center position. How many of those guys do you need? Like, this is someone that they can let walk away. He can catch on in the ECHL, maybe work his way up to the AHL. They can go without him and, without that contract spot being given to him for 2-3 years, still keep an eye on him and then go, hey, we need a guy who can project out to be our fourth line guy who can win faceoffs. You know what? That Schmaltz kid that we drafted back in 2019, he's in the American Hockey League. Let's sign him the same way we did Parker Wotherspoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I just don't see it. It's just, for me, he hasn't done enough to earn a contract.
No, and as a 7th round pick, you're not overthinking it either.
No, you're not. You're not.
So, yeah, as Curious mentions, Beecher has playoff experience.
Yeah,
a couple games in there. Yeah,
and
NHL playoff experience.
By the time you would ever need Schmaltz in the NHL level, Beecher will have a ton of playoff experience. So,
right, and Beecher. Let's also not forget Beecher was at Michigan. Like, it's a little bit different of a program than University of North Dakota. And I'd have to go back and look, but I remember, and I don't remember who they were off the top of my head, but he had 3 really good centers ahead of him at Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't remember who they were.
That was one deep team in his last year there, but
Maybe
it is
someone
what
in the
it
chat
is.
can remind me who they were because it's going to bother me. I'll look them up later, but that's part of why Beecher got bumped to the 4th line. So it is what it is, though.
Yeah, so let's move on to a guy that's not good. Some people will say is ugly. I don't think it's bad. I will say not bad, and that's Beckett Hendrickson. So back-to-back wins for Minnesota. There's something, I believe, 12-2-0 on the season. Beckett Hendrickson had a goal and assist in his first 2 games in the NCAA and is now pointless in his last 12. And people will say, why is that not ugly? And I'll tell you, he's playing 10 minutes a night on the 4th line, but his work ethic, you go back and we talk about when we, in the preseason, when we did the rankings, right, Chris? And the compete level. Yep. And okay, so his compete level was here and it's now up here. I have no complaints with his compete level, his work ethic, his nothing. He's just not putting up points. And that's okay. He's a freshman. You don't expect them to put up a lot of points. But every aspect of this kid's game, you've got to like at this point, except the production. That's why I'm not going to call it ugly. I'm not going to call it bad. I'm going to say it's not bad. I don't know if you got to watch any of Minnesota's games, Chris.
Not
but his motor,
enough.
I would say there was maybe 1 or 2 games I didn't like his compete level, but for the most part, it's been there.
Yeah, I'd say that. I like what I've seen from him. Like you said, it's not bad. We mentioned when we were talking about Schmaltz just now, like it's kind of a don't really know. The difference with Hendrickson is that they don't need an answer this year.
Right. I mean, he can spend the 4 years there and come out, a pro hockey player, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's a first, second liner. He might be a middle tier third liner or an excellent 4th liner.
But there's a spot
and there's
for
nothing
those
wrong
guys.
with that. Yeah, there's exactly.
And let's not forget, he does know how to score. He put up 21 points for Dubuque, and he put up 43 points with Sioux Falls.
Right.
So, like, he does know how to score. That doesn't just go away. Maybe he comes out next year and is a point per game player in the NCAA. He just needed a year to get used to that level. Again, that's okay.
Yeah, and like I said, he's playing 4th line and less than 4th line minutes right now. So they're breaking him in slowly. The good thing is the team doesn't need him to be any more than what he is right now because they're 12-2.
And he's 19.
And he's 19.
I remember people wanted Fabian Lysell, who we'll get to later, but they wanted him to be in the NHL when he was just 19. Like, this is what we're talking about when we say it's a curve. It's up and down. It's not linear for these players. 4th round pick a year ago or 2 years ago almost. Patience, and that's not a problem. Like, we're going to say that over and over again because a lot of these guys just aren't ready. Otherwise, they'd be in Providence.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, I think
Let's move on to another good.
I was gonna say,
Ty
I think if
Gallagher.
you're going where I want you to go. This kid is on fire.
Yeah. Defenseman, leading Colorado College in scoring. Seventh round pick. Was screwed over by Jay Pandolfo last season and seventh defenseman. Don't know why. Enters the transfer portal, goes to Colorado College, and is 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points in 12 games, and leads Colorado College in scoring.
And 4 PIMs. 4 PIMs.
4 PIMs. 22 minutes a night, 22, 23 minutes a night average, playing top pair. How do you go from being the seventh defenseman, playing under 10 minutes a night, to top pair, 22, 23 minute a night defenseman and leading one of the better teams in college in scoring?
I was just gonna say, some people are gonna try and be like, "Oh, well, one's BU, one's Colorado," but Colorado is a very, very good program, and
Yes.
he's done this before. He did it 2 years ago, 21 points in 40 games, up from 16 and 34 the year before, both of which were at BU. This is what he should have done last year,
Right.
but like you said, for whatever reason, Pandolfo's doghouse. Maybe I don't. Who knows why? There's all the jokes in the world as to why, but
Yeah.
this is what he should have been doing last year. I think, I mentioned it when I went to development camp. He looked really good. He looked refreshed, honestly. So I think whatever it was last year is brushing off of him. And in this instance, I think he can do 5 years in the NCAA, right?
Yes.
I think a 5th year will
This is
help
his
him.
tips, is it not?
21-22 was his first year at BU. So he did 3 years at BU, first year at Colorado.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying is I'm pretty sure he has 1 more year of eligibility. If I were him, I would take it.
I don't think he does.
Again. You don't think
I
so?
don't
You
think
think
he
he
does.
tries to go pro
No.
right away?
I'm telling you, he's playing with the chip on his shoulder. If it's not that he's just good offensively, he's been that good defensively for them.
Oh, I know. I'm just
He's
wondering.
he's a plus 8 or 9 on the season, off the top of my head. I think the Bruins want him to turn pro at the end of the year. If he continues doing what he's doing and playing with that chip on his shoulder, I think so. He'll sign a 2-year. How old is he? 22?
21 right now.
Okay,
Date of
so he'll
birth,
be
March.
22. He'll be 22 when he's done. Sign his entry level. So it'll be a 2-year entry level contract.
Okay. You know what? Sold. 2 years, ELC. Probably both of those years would be spent in Providence. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Maybe 3.
Yeah, I could see him doing 3 years in Providence. And, the question is, who would you try to pair him with in Providence?
Well, it depends on who's there.
No, I was just going to say,
knows
granted,
what
some of
this-
that's going to be who's going to still be there. But
Yeah. It all like, I mean, if Regula's still there, I would love to see him with a guy like Alec Regula.
that would be an
I think
interesting pair.
I think they complement their style of play would complement each other, and I don't know. I just watch this kid every game, and I think, man, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's not failing. He very rarely makes a mistake.
He does seem to have a pretty high hockey IQ.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
he does. Again, a 7th round pick.
Hey, you can find him. So let's see. Curious real quick says, gotta love freshmen making the team, getting playing time, and leading the team in scoring. I did the same thing. Which one is he talking about there? Were we still talking about
Freshman
Beckett?
leading the
Because based on when the comment was posted, I think we were talking about Beckett Hendrickson, but he's not leading the team in scoring. Ty Gallagher's not a freshman, so maybe you can clarify that which player you're talking about. But yeah, you love it when a freshman can do it. So
Yeah, I don't think any freshman is leading the team in scoring.
but
Not in Bruins prospects anyway.
No. But I mean, either way, as a 7th round pick, gotta love him coming in his first year in Colorado and just, taking over.
Yeah, so let's move on to.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to say ugly. Let's move on to Gallagher is leading the team in scoring, but he's not a freshman. A defenseman.
He's a first-year player at Colorado. He was a 3-year player at BU. So that's probably where the confusion was. Anyway, are you headed towards our buddies over at Quinnipiac?
Yeah, because I want to put these under the bad category. Simply because if we're doing just good, bad, and ugly, they don't fit in the good and they don't fit in the ugly. Let's start with Elliot Grunwald, the defenseman the Bruins moved up to draft. So 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, 4 PIMs, +2 in 12 games played. Had a stretch there of 4 games where, he was showing some offensive production. Now it's gone quiet the last 3 or 4 games. Again, I'm not worried about production, but here's a guy that the Bruins said has some intriguing offensive upside. I can't remember the exact words. Maybe you do, Chris. Part of it is a disappointing season for Quinnipiac, who's they're around 500, something like that.
They are. I just had it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're right around 500.
Yeah.
So part of it falls on the team not being as good as what was expected. I can't recall what his ice time is like, but he's getting some good minutes. Again, the all-around game, I can't say it's been good, so we have to put it in the bad category. But you see signs from him. You can understand why the Bruins were intrigued and moved up to draft him, because there are signs. It's just not consistent. Do I expect it from a freshman? No, I don't think anybody should expect it from a freshman. What do you think?
Yeah, also let's not act like he was a 1st or 2nd round draft pick either. There's a reason he was able to fall. Like you said, there's good things about the way he can move the puck, about the way he plays the game and finds his teammates with his passes. Like, there's good things there. You see the flashes.
Yeah.
And the highs are quality highs. That's why you went up to get him, because other people were seeing those as well. That being said, if they were consistently there, he's a 1st or 2nd round draft pick, and he's probably a top 15 pick if they're there on a consistent basis. So that's why you got him at 110 overall. Give him some time. As a freshman at a quality program like Quinnipiac, I'm not worried about it. Is would I like to see it more frequently? Yeah, he's 12 games into his NCAA career. He's a long way away from the NHL. I'm not going to sit here and woe is me over a kid who's 12 games in at the age of, 18? Like,
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
The people who are going to sit here and try and jump ship are the same ones who still want to trade off Fabian Lysell. Like, just have a little dose of reality. He's okay.
Yeah. So, teammate Chris Pelosi, it's funny because if you look at their stat line, identical. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 PIMs, +2, 12 games played.
They're just playing the copycat game.
Absolutely identical. I know, and I've said it many a times, if it were up to me, I would have reversed the Hendrickson Pelosi picks in 2022. Was it 22 or 23? 23. I would have reversed them.
They got them both, so it doesn't really matter.
We got them both anyway. But I expected more from Pelosi because of the team he was on. And it turns out Minnesota's a better team, though Hendrickson is playing on the 4th line. Pelosi's getting better opportunities, more offensive opportunities. Surprisingly, he's done well defensive. His 200-foot game has come a long way. I love it. I'm just disappointed in the production. I thought he would be a little bit better right now. But again, freshman, so the expectations shouldn't be too high.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of and there's a lot of impatience out there overall. And again, it's that factor of move on from him. This guy's a bust. He's a first round pick. It's been 3 years, 4 years, whatever. The mentality applies for college kids too. He's a freshman. You'd love to see the production there. You'd love to see, as Curious Browser put, the freshman making the team, leading the team in scoring. You'd love to see it. However, I will also point out that sometimes, and this isn't that much of a dig at you, Curious Browser, but I do want to point this out. Are you still playing? Because if you're on the track for the NHL, let me know. But sometimes the people who do that, they've peaked, and that's the best they're ever going to get. And so a guy like Pelosi going through some adversity right now, not putting up the points I'm sure he wants to be putting up. That's just going to, sharpen his skill if he has the drive to keep going. I'm not worried about him having the drive. That's the type of thing that they've just got to work through to keep pushing to grow and get better as a hockey player.
Exactly. So let's move along to the last NCAA guy, and that's Philip Svedback in net. And then we'll get to the USHL guys and Loke Johansson in the queue. So here's the thing. We know the Bruins don't have any goaltending outside of professional, except Svedback. And they really need to hit on him. So Providence College, they've got 3 goaltenders now. So Svedback doesn't have to be the guy each and every game. And when he's not, he's been very, very good. I think Tuesday night, last week, and this game was on for everybody in Canada, the U.S. to see on television. Was probably the best game I've ever seen him play. Stopped 36 of 40 shots.
He had a hell of a game.
Was in control of his movements. He was square to the puck all the time. Controlled his rebounds. Just a perfect game by him. Saturday, we saw the complete opposite. He's stopped 23 of 25 shots, or I think he faced. It wasn't very good. The thing is Providence College outshot Long Island 38-25 in that game, and they lost 4-3 in overtime. They didn't score the tying goal until Svedback was on the bench for the extra attacker. So is it Long Island's goalie was that good, or was Svedback that bad in that game that he gave up 3 goals on 25 shots? 26 shots, sorry. I just think it was night and day difference between Tuesday's game and Saturday's game. And like I said earlier, he doesn't have to play every game now. And when he's not, when they're playing 2 games on a weekend, he's not getting both starts, and he just looks that much better. Your thoughts?
What worries me when it comes to Svedback is the mental game. You mentioned how great he played in that game against BC. He elevated himself to that game. And then, of course, I mean, if you look at the BC goal scorers that game, first period, Gabe Perreault assisted from Hagens and Leonard. And then the game tying goal, Leonard from Perreault and Eamon Powell. And then that overtime goal was Leonard again from Hagens and Perreault.
Yeah.
Like, he's giving up goals to NHL caliber players at the college level. I'm just wondering if part of the reason why he struggled against Long Island is because mentally he was still beating himself up. Because if you look at that goal that was scored in overtime by Ryan Leonard, it was just a fluke thing for him as a goaltender. Great play by Leonard. Great awareness to knock it in the way he did. But a trickling goal like that, as a goaltender, you have to have a short memory. And what that game against Long Island makes me worry about is how short is Svedback's memory. Can he get better at it? Absolutely. But he's not there yet.
Yeah, I just don't think at this point that he's a workhorse.
No.
I just have not seen anything to suggest he is. And, maybe things will change as the season progresses, but
that's something that I would love to try and get what's his name? Lehman? Is that the head coach?
Yeah, Nate Lehman.
I would love to pick his brain on, because they have 3 goaltenders, because of the way that game against BC ended. What was the thought process in giving Svedback the second game of the back-to-back? Was it, I think played a hell of a game and we want to get you back out there?
Well, yeah, you had 4 days or 3 days off, so it shouldn't have been that big of a deal for him, right? Because they played Tuesday and the next game was Saturday.
It was Tuesday, Saturday, but are you trying to show him that you have the confidence in him? Was that the message that you gave him? Like, I'm just curious, what was the message that you delivered to the player by saying, even though we lost the game on Tuesday, because of the way you played, we're going back to you? Or
he's been the undisputed number 1 for 3 years.
Right. But last year was definitely not a very good year for him.
Well, it wasn't as good as his previous year, no. But, I think he's still the undisputed number 1. He's just not starting 34 games this season or 35 games.
I don't know,
right?
but I
Like
do
what
want
did he?
to.
What did he, you got his stats in front of you? What did he play last year? 34
I
games,
35.
35.
35, and I mean 900 save percentage, 232 goals against. He still didn't end with that bad.
No, and now his save percentage this year is 920, and he's got a 238 goals against average.
Yeah.
I
And
just think when you're
yeah.
out shooting a school like Long Island, 38-26 or whatever it was, 38-26, and he's your number one goalie, you should win that game.
Yeah. Oh, that's why they play the games, right? Not on paper.
Yeah,
I will give
exactly.
credit to Curious real quick. I appreciate him not taking that as a personal dig. He says no, just college stuff back in the day. Played for Omaha Flyers as well. They might be the Knights now. He says he wasn't serious, just a college partier who happened to have some good years on a good
Yeah.
team. So I had to put the disclaimer out there. It wasn't a shot at him, but it certainly seemed like that's what I was doing. So I appreciate him being a good sport about it. But yeah, with Fed back though, my question to you is: do you think they try to get him to go pro at the end of this year?
No. I think they wait another year. I mean, they signed Bichel to an AHL contract, so I think they're looking at him. Would like to see Svedback play the full 4 years and see what they have in Bichel.
I mean, he's only 22, so that means he's coming out of
Yeah,
college at the age of 24.
Lots of time.
Oh yeah.
But let's move on to the USHL guys because it's 7:30 and we're going to run out of time. So I got to go 2 bads and a good on there. So
list them off. Let's go.
Christian Konstantinsky, bad. He's seen his ice time drop. He's moved from where he was on the top pair at the start of the season to the third pair. He was a shot generating machine for Buke in the USHL. And going off the top of my head, I don't think he's had a shot on net in the last 3 games.
That's certainly a drop.
4 games. I just looked at it. Hasn't had a shot on goal in the last 4 games. Big drop. I don't know what's happened. It's definitely not the transition to North America because he was so good to start the season. The team is doing fairly well. He's still got 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points in 20 games, and is a +8. 20 penalty minutes. A lot of penalty minutes for him. So, yeah, just not been impressed the last couple of weeks with Konstantinsky. Jonathan Morello. Okay. Go ahead.
I do have one, not a heavy pushback, just a Domism here. When it comes to you saying that it's not the changeover to the North American ice. All right. What does Dom always say about the first few games of a player's new team, new call up?
Adrenaline. But
Adrenaline
at this
can
point,
carry you so far.
not for a third of the season. They're a third of the way through the season.
They are now. When did this drop off start?
Oh, last 2 weeks. 2, 3 games, 4 games max.
So, what? 15, 16 games? You don't think adrenaline could carry him to not look like not have the ice be the problem? The size of the rink?
No.
Okay.
No.
Like I said, it wasn't a heavy pushback.
Well, you went from top pair to bottom pair.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. like I said,
Obviously, the coaches were seeing something they didn't like either. So
that's why I'm
uh,
not arguing with you. It's just I got to point the Domism out right there. That's all.
yeah.
So
So
anyway,
Jonathan Morello, I'm so close to saying ugly at this point, but it's bad. 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points in 20 games. This guy should be putting a point per game up on the board, and he's not. I love his two-way game, his defensive game and all that, but he should be a point per game player at this level, and it's just not happening for him. Is it a jump from the OJHL, Junior A hockey, to the USHL? Maybe that has a little bit, but again, I projected him to be a point per game player, and he's not even half a point per game player. Very disappointed, and it's on the verge of ugly because a lot of people expected it to be a point per game player.
yeah, we'll just have to see where that continues to keep going for him. I mean, it's not the end of the world yet, but it like you said, disappointing is the way to put it.
Yeah. Now, there is good with Dubuque, and that's Cole Spicer. Returned from injury, has 2 assists in 4 games. So he's got no goals, 2 assists in his last 3 games since returning from injury. He's playing on the top line. It's going to take him a few games to get up to speed and get back into game shape because he missed 16 games, 15 games that he's missed. So I'm impressed at how he's returned. Once he gets into game shape, we'll know more about Spicer. But so far, so good for him. And this was a guy who put his hockey career on hold last summer after Bruins development camp.
Yeah, you really like to see him bounce back, and fall into that good category after signing with Dubuque, and just someone that you're rooting for because he's fighting for it. That's all you can look for.
Yeah.
As Curious mentions,
Yeah.
only solutions. You were saying?
Brian Lawton. I remember him. Okay, let's do Loki Johansson real quick before we get to Providence, because I know people are going to have
Tons of
questions about Providence. So the Moncton Wildcats were no longer the number 1 ranked team in the CHL. The London Knights, in their 15-game winning streak, have surpassed them to take over the number 1 spot. So Johansson, like Kostadinsky in the USHL, it's a shot-producing machine from the point. The Bruins wanted him to go to the queue and work on his offense. He's got 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points in 22 games. Still 28 penalty minutes. He can be a mean bugger at times, but he's a plus 13. Make no mistake, this guy's forte is a shutdown defenseman who can play physical, transition the puck, may be good for a point or two. He's not going to put up the points that a Frederic Brunet put up in the queue. He's just not that type of defenseman. But if you're looking for a guy who can form a Kevin Miller type career in the NHL, this could be him.
Not a bad option.
Yeah.
Like you said, can be a mean son of a bitch.
At times he can be.
Yeah.
He loves the physical game.
Definitely ain't shying away from it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But, and we'll be able to get a little more on him on Thursday when we chat with Craig, because I know that we've talked to him a lot about him before when he signed the ELC. But, yeah, I mean, not a lot to add, and I know everybody's chomping at the bit for Providence stuff, so I don't want to hold that up either. So
yeah, Craig covers the team, so he knows Moncton very, very well.
So, and we'll talk to him a little bit more about it on Thursday. But with that, do you want to transition over to Providence?
That's all that's left.
Do that?
Well, they had a good weekend. They won 2 out of 2.
They did. They had a good weekend. Do we want to start with the guys who were recently called up and sent down? How do you want to run through?
Yeah, let's do that, Chris, because unlike last year, the Bruins have cap space to be able to bring these guys up and try them for a game or two. So yesterday let's go back to Friday or Saturday, whatever it was. They sent Georgi Merkulov back. They brought up Mark McLaughlin. Okay. Sacco had said he wanted to get Johnson back in, right? And he did.
Yep.
So there was no point in having Georgi Merkulov sitting on the 9th floor. Send him down to Providence to play a couple of games.
Totally agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. And he scored a beauty winner on Friday, was it? I can't remember.
One of them. So, the game winner. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So you look at it. Merkulov, McLaughlin will get back up there. Osterley, Tufte, Vale, Potter
let's be
obviously was in the NHL. Jones.
Let's be honest. Vale was only called up for the fight.
Yeah, right. But he was called up.
Yeah.
Right? So they're bringing these players in to try them. So Lysell will get his opportunity. I can guarantee you he will get his opportunity. Farinacci is going to get an opportunity. Riley Duran will get an opportunity later in the season. Because they have the cap space, they're able to do this. Last year they didn't, and the injury to Lysell prevented him from being up for a couple games. But I don't know where they were going to find the cap space. So that's where we are with the call-ups. I'm sure they'll call somebody up, maybe not for tomorrow's game because they're at home, but they'll call somebody up to make the trip to Long Island on Wednesday.
Yeah,
because they sent Osterley down too.
When did they do that? Because last I have is they called him up on the 25th. Oh, that was today. They called him back up today.
Yeah, they called him back up today. Okay, and they sent him down Sunday. So they're just playing the let's bag some cap space game.
Yep, makes sense. Mine as well. Osterley is clearly on the team. Like, he is clearly their 7th defenseman right now. With the injuries that they have to. With Pete coming back, though, Osterley will be the odd man out at some point again. But for now, I mean, he's got the NHL experience. That's the guy that you want as your 7th defenseman.
Yeah.
If someone needs a breather, we'll see him. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. So, we got to talk a little bit about Brandon Bussey because he had the shutout on Friday. 3-0 win over Lehigh Valley. 30 shots faced, stopped them all. Very good game. It's good to see him back being the goaltender we knew he was, because let's face it, DiPietro was clearly outplaying him and took over the number one spot. His numbers still aren't great. 4 goals against average, .879 save percentage. But now we know he's trending in the right direction. Agree or disagree?
Oh, 100% agree. I definitely think DiPietro was the clear-cut number one. We were having the questions about what was going on with Brandon Bussey, and this just proves that if they had gone into the season with Korpisalo and Bussey, it would have been an absolute disaster. This is why they claimed Patera off waivers for the NHL level, because Bussey just isn't there yet. It's okay that he's not there yet. Goaltenders do take a little bit longer most of the time, but if he took they're 17 games into the season. He's 7 games into the season right now as the number 2 down in Providence. If it had taken him 7 games to get to this point at the AHL level, where is he at the NHL level right now? If he's your number 2,
his confidence would have been destroyed.
Absolutely.
Confidence would have been destroyed. And then, then you're looking at let's say you're looking like a Michael DiPietro for the Vancouver Canucks at that point.
Yeah, you've done to him what Vancouver did to DiPietro.
Right. So, good to I'm hoping he can keep it going. But only time will tell. On the flip side, you've got DiPietro, who stopped 22 of 23 on Saturday, improved his record to 6-2-2. He's got a 2 goals against average and a .924 save percentage. So his save percentage is .05 higher than Bussey's.
Yeah.
Right? Almost exactly.
They're very, very similar. When you're 5/100ths of a point off, you're pretty close.
Yeah, so kudos to DiPietro. He's held the fort. He's done well. He's played 10 out of the 17 games. Bussey's played 7. So we're probably going to see a more even split the rest of the way if Bussey is back. Agree?
I would think so. This was one of the elite tandems down in Providence in the American Hockey League for the last, 2-3 seasons now? Ever since they got DiPietro? 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So I don't see why they wouldn't go back to it. You'd like to see Brandon Bussey have a little bit of a better record at 2-5. DiPietro at 6-2-2. It just you can only win the games that the team in front of you scores in. So it is what it is for Bussey at that point. But he's fixing his personal numbers, and that's all he can control.
Yep. On Friday it was nice to see Fabian Lysell and Frederic Brunet both scored their second goals of the season. Brunet, and we should all also add Matthew Poitras had 2 assists in that game. But Brunet, I'm really happy with how his game is coming along. He's only got 2 goals, 2 assists in 16 games. I think he's only missed the 1 game. But he's a +6. Games. He's a +6, which I believe leads the team
He is tied
Or-
with Tyler Pitlick. Yes.
Okay. So this is an offensive defenseman. Leads the team in plus minus. That tells me that the work that he was told to put in his defensive game and the work he put in the off season and at Bruins training camp and the Providence training camp to not only improve his defensive game but use his size and his body more physically is coming to fruition. Agree?
Oh yeah, and I would point like Riley Duran is someone that I would point to and highlight and boldface circle a million times over when I say this. This is why a player like Matthew Poitras was sent down to Providence, because Riley Duran could have been the call up when Hampus Lindholm got hurt, because he's played well enough. His play has said, "Hey, you can call me up." However,
But Duran's a center winger and Lindholm's a defenseman. Why would you call Duran up?
you get what my point being is when someone is injured. Sorry,
Okay.
I was using Hampus as an example. Sorry, I kind of jumbled up the example, but where I'm going with this is what we mean by saying it's better to have him play every night, all scenarios, as a top line player in Providence. Lysell is probably a better example, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
To get the time to develop the game all around his game versus sitting on the ninth floor at the NHL level.
Yeah, exactly. And, another guy that's surprising, at least to me, and I watched this guy in the Ontario Hockey League for 3 seasons. And I always said, I don't know that his offense can translate to the pro game. And that's defenseman Ryan Mast. Now, he's only played in 10 games. No goals, 3 assists, plus 3 or 4. If you have it in front of you, tell us, Chris, because I'm just off the top of my head.
He has a +3. He has 4 PIMs.
Okay. So, I thought that he could be a guy that was destined for the ECHL again this season and let them take their time with him. Because of the injury to Regula, Mast has gotten some opportunities in Providence and has not looked out of place. I'm actually surprised by him. Doesn't mean he's an NHL player, no, but at least we're seeing signs going up, a trajectory that's going up. It has to get up here to be the NHL level. He's probably around here, but at least it's pointing in the right direction.
Yeah.
Again,
100%.
sixth round pick, I believe.
Sounds about right. Yeah. I can pull it up for sure, but that sounds right for Mast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, it's there are certain guys that you want to leave in Providence, and I agree with you. I do think we're going to see guys like Lettieri, like Merkulov, Farinacci. We're seeing it with Mark McLaughlin now. I think Merkulov is not done.
No, I don't think so either. I think he'll be up for the Islanders game. You mentioned Farinacci. I was really high on him last year, even though his production dropped in the second half. Disappointing. 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in 16 games. Expected much better from him. He's disappointed.
Yeah. Here's two questions for you. But before we get to my two, Curious mentions can/will Riley Tufte make the move to the NHL the way Brazeau did? They have similar profiles, big frames, 20-plus goals in the AHL, and they're about the same size.
If he does, it
Kevin,
won't be
have a
with the
good night.
Bruins. Have a good night, Kevin. If he does, I
Thanks
don't think
for
it'll be with the
tuning in.
Bruins.
I don't think so either. Maybe he gets another look this year with Boston as well. But so actually kind of comes around to one of my questions. My first question is, do you think we will see anybody called up for previews before the trade deadline?
Oh, yeah. I think all these
Who-
guys will have an opportunity before that.
Who do you think the guys are that they're going to call up to see what they have to shop them?
All the
If
guys I
you had to
mentioned
take a
before.
pick.
You'll see Merkulov. You'll see McLaughlin. You'll see Lysell. You might see Farinacci. You'll see Duran. You're not going to see Brunet. You might see Poitras again. I don't think you'll see Callahan. You'll see Max Jones again. You're not going to see Mast. As high as I was on Kuntar, you're not going to see him this year. He's having a terrible year. Same with Brad Harrison. Terrible year. Billy Sweezy is what you expect. Jackson Edward, you're not going to see him.
I wouldn't expect to see Jackson Edward. I mean, you got to get far. This leads to my next question. I was going to say you got to get far down the depth chart to remotely think about calling Jackson Edward up. Who's the next defenseman call up if there's another injury?
Osterley. No, he got called back up already. If there's another injury, Ian Mitchell.
Okay. Like, no question, Ian Mitchell.
No question.
Okay. That was the guy I was thinking of, him or Sweezy. But
here, let's do this chore. You got the Providence roster up on Elite Prospects?
Not on Elite Prospects. I have it on the AHL website.
Okay. Go down the list and we'll do a good, bad, and ugly.
Okay. I'll go by games played.
Do it whatever way you want to. We'll do a good, bad, ugly.
All right. Lettieri.
Good.
I'd agree. Merkulov.
Good.
Pitlick.
Good. And he's under an AHL contract.
Mark McLaughlin.
Good.
Ian Mitchell.
Good.
Osterley.
Hard to say because he's been up in Boston all this time. What's he played?
9
7,
games.
8 games.
He has 8.
9?
9 games. He has 8 points. He's a -3. I think, as expected, would probably be my answer.
I'll put him as good. Yeah.
Patrick Brown.
Bad.
Fabian Lysell.
From beginning season, the whole season, up to say bad.
I was just say bad is the average. I think it started ugly. We've gotten to good. His grade overall is in the middle. So bad. John Farinacci.
Bad.
Riley Tufte.
Good.
Riley Duran.
Bad.
Frederick Brunet.
Good.
Jeffrey Viel.
Bad.
As I say, I'm leaning bad on that one. Michael Callahan.
Good.
Max Jones.
Gonna say good since he's been down. Yeah.
See, I'm gonna go ugly because he was signed to be in the NHL.
Well,
He wasn't
yeah, but we're just talking his play in the AHL.
in the AHL, he has been good, but overall, his
Yeah.
experience in the organization has been bad. Or has been ugly. Matthew Poitras.
He's been good, but it's only been half a dozen games.
Yeah, 5 games, 3 points. I'm going to go with good. It's not his fault that he's in Providence. That's
Right.
my point. Ryan Mast,
Good.
Trevor Kuntar,
Ugly.
Joey Abadi,
Ugly.
Brett Harrison.
Ugly.
Ugly and a half. Billy Sweezy,
Bad.
Drew Bavaro,
He's had what, half a dozen games or so. I'm going to say good.
1.7. Jackson Edward,
Again, limited time. I'm going to say good.
his numbers are they're pretty identical to Bavaro. And as AHL rookies, I'll take what they're giving you. Adam Matura,
Well, he's gone. He's over in Europe now.
ugly.
Yeah.
Jimmy Lambert,
Ugly.
Mason Millman,
You know what? He's actually doing pretty good with Maine in the ECHL. He got a call up 1-2 games in Providence.
he's played 3, yeah.
2
He's
yeah,
played
2
3.
games. 3. Okay.
For an ECHL
But he's doing pretty
kid,
good in Maine.
I'll go good. I'll give him the good.
Yeah.
He's playing good enough in Maine to get called up. So, Jackson Nelson.
Ugly.
Now the real fun ones. Michael DiPietro
Good.
and Brandon Bussey.
I can't go on 1 game, so I'm going to say ugly.
I was going to say, I got to go ugly on that one. This is a good question from Michael. Does Providence power play and penalty kill play the same structure as Boston? Would that be important to do for player development?
The exact same system that's used in Boston is used in Providence. Whether it's special teams, 5-on-5, defending 5-on-6, 6-on-5, it's all the same. And that's supposed
crucial.
to be that is what's supposed to get your players ready if you need to call them up and insert it into the Bruins lineup, is that nothing changes. The system is the same. It's just who you are lining up with that's different.
Yeah, and it's absolutely crucial for player development. Absolutely. It's a very good question. It's a good point. It's something that Boston has made a priority, and I think that's part of why Ryan Mujanel is, for lack of a better term, fairly safe. I think some of the guys that have come up through the system as far as coaches, Sacco has been with the organization for a while. Even Jay Leach knows the system very well. I think that keeps Ryan Mujanel, I don't want to say secure in the job, but very safe. So his next follow-up to that is it going to change now with Sacco at the helm? Michael, what I would highlight, go back and watch our show with Gail Trioni on Friday and yesterday's show, because we talked heavy about Sacco coming in and really talked about how Sacco runs a system very similar. They're basically going back to the old Bruce Cassidy system. Fair to say?
Yeah. And to answer your question without going into all the detail, yes, it'll change. Sacco will be in communication with Mujanel and say, this is what we're doing. And then Mujanel will plant the same system in Providence.
So you said not to get too much into it. Well, the next question asks us to get into it. Has that system changed at all since Sacco took over?
Yeah.
It has. It has. If you notice, just if you really want to look at the broad spectrum of how has it changed, just look at the shot total in Sacco's
Well,
2 games.
no, the biggest change is on defense and how they
Oh, I
defend.
meant offensive.
They protect the front of the net now. They don't have two defensemen chasing all over the D zone. One defenseman is always in front, clearing the front of the net. They attack the points. Forwards come back harder on the back checks, so a lot of people get killed in the neutral zone. They either attack hard, which allows the defenseman to keep the gaps closed, and stand up at the blue line. So, and they're giving the goaltenders the opportunity to see the pucks and make the saves. That's the big change, because this team needs to defend like that to win hockey games. Offensively, we're seeing a change going from a shot quantity or quality over quantity with Montgomery to quantity over quality with Sacco. That's not gonna show you an increase in offense immediately. It'll take time because the forwards now have to adjust for those shots coming from just about anywhere. So I think it will come. Just we're not going to see it right away.
Yeah, JD mentions they have 5 people back in the zone. Nobody's cheating by the red line.
No.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, there's differences too. I was mostly just, kind of broad overviewing the offensive difference there. Like you said, shot quantity over shot quality. But no, we're seeing a difference. You're seeing it. I mean, you saw it right away in both goaltenders' first starts. They both saw the puck well. They're able to control those rebounds a little bit better. There's less chaos in front of the net. And yesterday when we had Evan on, you were talking specifically about a play with Zadorov going into the corner and then kind of realizing, no, I belong here in front of the net. So
yeah, he saw the peak was already there. He was in a battle. He skated towards the wall. I think he took 2 strikes in the net where he's supposed to be. But the forward helped peak, which is what is supposed to be happening. But we would have seen Zadorov 2 weeks ago go after that play.
2 weeks ago, we would have seen him do it 4 games ago.
Yeah,
4 days ago, we would have been seeing it. So I think it's going to be tough for everyone to point out. Hey, we got Matrix jumping in here. It's going to be tough for everyone to see because we're going to watch game over game as they learn and improve at the system. My suggestion, if you really want to see that night and day difference, pick a game in about 15, 25 games, watch that one, and then go and watch like the Columbus game from 2 weeks ago. And you'll see the massive difference in the good play versus them just not playing the same way. The system wasn't working with these guys because they had to think too much. At least that's how I saw it. They were all holding the stick tight thinking.
A game don't compare it to a game they got blown out. Go to the game they lost in overtime.
Okay, the Utah game.
Compare it to that. And you'll see the difference.
Hey, at least I didn't say the Dallas game. Let's see.
You don't want to compare it to a game they got blown out.
Monty is now mentioning the whole can't pass it into the net bit in St. Louis in regards to fixing their offense. So
Oh.
we talked a little bit about it with Evan.
You know what? Let him say
with
what he
Evan
wants to
yesterday.
say.
Did you see or hear any of his quotes about joining the staff or any of that in his first media availability today?
Whose?
Montgomery.
I don't care what he has to say. I don't. He's not a Bruin
All I'm
anymore.
going to say is he didn't put any water on the fire that we talked to Evan about yesterday about him intentionally trying to get himself fired. So anyway, Dom, do you have any final thoughts? I'm just realizing it's a little after 8.
Yeah. 2 big games coming up. We'll be here Thursday night at 6:30 live on X or on YouTube or wherever you're getting your fill of us. Craig Eagles will be joining us again. He's already told me that he's got a couple of takes that we're not going to like. Won't tell me what they are, but he's got a couple of takes we're not going to like. So it might be one to tune in because Craig is a very intelligent hockey person. I respect what he has to say. So I'll be curious what he's going to bring up.
Yeah, you've really intrigued me for that show, that episode.
And honestly, I know you're going to ask me when we go off air, and I don't know. You know me.
No,
I don't want to know.
I know. That's the thing is I can't even ask you. You've intrigued me.
No.
I can't wait for the Thursday show now. So
It's like,
anyway,
shock me and let me deal with it live. That's all I can say.
yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. And next week's shows, we should have a couple pretty good announcements. So we've got some stuff in the works.
Quick prediction about the that's
Thursday
night, mate. 6:30. Quick prediction for the game tomorrow against the Canucks.
But you don't do predictions.
No, I'm asking for yours.
Oh boy.
And then you can ask me for mine.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think starts in net?
It'll be Swayman, I think. And Corpy will get the Islanders.
At home.
I would like to reverse it, but I think that's what's going to happen.
I think you do Swayman at home to keep that going. I agree. I think Swayman gets the start. God, why do I feel like Jake DeBrusk is good for 2?
I don't. I think, you know what I think? I think Zadorov is going to run him through the boards. I really do.
But why? Like, what is it that Zadorov has against DeBrusk?
He doesn't have anything against DeBrusk.
He just knows that it'll go with the fans.
Yeah. Zadorov is that kind of player.
Fair.
It's like, hey, you used to play here? I'll show you. I mean,
fuck you.
It'll be his attitude. Imagine this, like his accent isn't as big as it was when he first came to North America and played for the London Knights. So imagine this in a heavy Russian accent from a guy who's like 6'6", 250 pounds. This is my team now. Bang. That's Zadorov.
Oh man. You know what? 4-1 victory. I think DeBrusk gets his I think DeBrusk gets his goal. Or he gets a point. Maybe he gets an assist on. I mean, they just have a lot of talent in Vancouver still, even with JT Miller out. So Pedersen, Hughes, I think should be playing. As far as I don't think he's out.
He's not suspended?
I don't think so. I didn't hear of a suspension, just that he got tossed. Let me just double check that.
That was a suspension, man.
Let me see. possible suspension. He got the misconduct. I haven't heard. 2 days ago.
Oh, so he's not suspended then.
Okay, no suspension.
Should have been.
Yeah. DeBrusque is good for a point, and I think you will see Pasternak get a point. Marchand, Coyle, Zaka all get points. I think there's.
I just
revenge
wanted to
factor.
score. I just wanted to know
4-1.
who's going to win.
4-1.
That's it. That's all I want to know. Who's going to win?
Who's gonna bite the Bruins fans player from the Canucks, Michael?
That's your Demko.
He's gonna be eating chicken fingers on the 9th floor. Come on.
Well, and there'll be a Bruins finger in there.
Mark McLaughlin.
Todd Angeles. Didn't have to be. Nobody said it had to be a player.
Bruins player's finger. That's what he said.
Oh,
Will bite a Bruins player's finger.
okay. I didn't read it. I just want
Zadorov.
to tell everybody as well. If you're over on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscribe. It'll do us a big favor. We don't usually beg you to go do that, but today we're begging you to go do that.
Yeah, it all helps. And like I said, hopefully by next Sunday, we have, for that episode, a couple big announcements here coming up. So the likes, the subs, they all help, and they make the announcements that much more fun. Dom, any final thoughts here?